Hey there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me. So the past 2 weeks have been pretty nuts. I haven't had a day to sit and do nothing since I think 2 Saturdays ago. So I'm running on E right now, but I'm gonna do my best to like pull through for you guys and give you a good one. So last week I was at the YAL conference. The last 2 videos kind of show that. By the way, if you want to see more videos like that, please do me a favor, leave a comment below on if you like those travel type videos, and also if you prefer me to do like a recap, before, during, after, all that kind of stuff. So like some of the very first videos on the channel were about me basically going over photos that I took while I was, doing one of these international trips. So I don't know if you guys like that style or if you'd prefer something like the catchy chill hop kind of edited video where I just took a bunch of video of everything instead of the photos. So let me know what you prefer. I'd like to hear back from you. But as for this particular video, it was funny. So at YAL, Young Americans for Liberty, the conference I went to last week, the main, I would say, trigger word that everybody heard was Fed. So if you got a conference full of like millennials, of course there's going to be a trigger word that just sets everybody off, and that word was the Fed, without fail, 100%, bar none. If any point one of the speakers said the word Fed, the entire crowd would start erupting in "and the Fed, and the Fed," and it was this chant that just took on its own legs organically. It was something to behold. So it was pretty interesting, kind of funny. But it's one of the big talking points I was there. Shocker, they're libertarians, so they're really big into ending the Fed and a lot of other stuff. Brief recap, they said a lot of things I really liked. They said some stuff I didn't really like, but that's politics. There's no such thing as a one size fits all. Anyway, as far as end the Fed is concerned, the question that I always had was like, okay, neat idea, but how are you gonna convince the populace to pursue that as a good idea? And number 2, if you succeed in that, what's that gonna look like transition-wise? So if there's this huge corporate conglomerate that is working in the shadows, funding the entire nation and all these operations overseas, and that just suddenly like goes away, what's that gonna have? What kind of impact is that gonna have? How is that gonna work? Like there's gonna be a sudden huge financial vacuum and power vacuum in the core of not only America, but a lot of other nations around the world. So the Fed has also directly impacts other countries, but in an indirect kind of manner. So anyway, what are you gonna do about that? And I think if you can answer the second question, it'll help you answer the first question. So my take on it would be, my approach is something along the lines of like, okay, if you have a decentralized Fed, it's basically like a bunch of state banks instead of a huge federal bank. The Federal Reserve, just to catch up to speed, is basically a central bank for all of America. It has a bunch of different tasks and responsibilities. I covered this in detail in I think 1 or 2 other videos. But as far as this one's concerned, I think a better way to do it would be to turn it into a large national bank into a large state bank and kind of divvy up its powers. So maybe there would be a shell of its current self moving forward instead of just outright ending the Fed. It does have some merits, but the way it currently exists is not good. Yeah, that's that's a whole other topic, and I'm sure just some cursory Google searches will pull up a lot of information on why it's not great right now. But just to catch you up to speed, basically it's a shadow organization that has no accountability, no responsibility, and it's completely left unchecked. So that's not great. So that should be some kind of accountability. So anyway, a good starting point would be at accountability, but also the Titus Act, which if you're not familiar with the channel, the Titus Act is one of the 3 bills that I want to pass that I think would dramatically improve America for the best. So Titus Act is the first and probably most important of them, and that would decentralize a lot of these large federal entities. And that's how you would transition into a large state bank instead of just one big federal bank. And then they could still take on the responsibilities that they normally have, except instead of operating under the shadows that nobody really pays attention to because it's the federal government, they would answer directly to any local delegates and then whatever responsibilities they have in the federal level as far as taking care of or watching unemployment, watching interest rates, things like that, they would have that same kind of impact, but more directly in their state that they're in, instead of trying to do this one size fits all across the whole country. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. I was really hoping to make this a shorter video. Looks like I'm around the 5-minute mark, so doing good there. Yeah, if you like these videos, please leave a like. It really makes it feel good. If you didn't like it, well, hey, thank you so much for showing up and watching. I do appreciate it. And just either way, I want to hear your thoughts. So the focus of this channel is to build a community where people start talking and then try to work together to come forward with a positive common good. That being to pass these 3 bills, in my opinion. So what would you think about keeping the Fed but instituting checks and balances so it isn't much of a shadow organization? Yes, absolutely yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. Great point. It's something, so the Fed isn't completely useless. Sorry, I was about to end the video, but that was a good comment. So the Fed isn't completely terrible. It's just the current existence of it is not good. So some of the checks and balances I would say is right now they're completely unaccountable to anyone. Congress wanted to audit them a number of years ago. I think the mid 2000s, and they just said no, and there's nothing that can be done about it. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, we asked. So instituting something where there would be a degree of checks and balances, I honestly, outside of like people getting rowdy physically, I don't know of another good way. Actually, you know what? I think if there would be a way to expose kind of the not great things that they're doing, and currently they're on a great path to accomplish that as we speak, with the way that they handled everybody calls it money printing, but basically they flooded the economy with more money, and the impact that it's having today with inflation, I think that would be a good point to point back to. Even the chair, Jerome Powell, he even said, like, he was asked in actually it was a Congress interview, or Senate, I think it was a Senate hearing that he was attending a couple weeks ago. They asked him outright, so it's like, if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything different? And he's like, yeah, in hindsight, I think flooding the market with so much money might have been a mistake, I think was his words. And he said, I probably would not do that again. So I think if people take a closer look at stuff like that, it would have to be wide scale. I don't know if that could happen, so that's why I was thinking maybe something like the Titus Act would have a better opportunity to, I guess, put a investigative lens into this kind of stuff. Because as a just pure natural byproduct of passing the Titus Act, everything has to be looked into. Like, okay, so instead of being this big federal entity, how is the best and most efficient way to make sure you as a federal agency entity still exists, and how can we best redistribute that in 50 parts? So I think the process of that could help uncover a lot of stuff that the Fed's been doing that's kind of nefarious. Allegedly, a bunch of the stuff includes like secret CIA operations overseas, where the United States is doing like really, really horrific stuff, even stuff domestically. And if it hadn't been for the funds being bankrolled by the Fed, these operations couldn't really exist. So that was one of the big talking points at YAL, was the reason why the terrible things America does is able to happen is because of the bankroll of that comes from the Fed. So anyway, great question. Thank you for asking that. I would like to hear more on that. So yeah, I don't know if this is going to show up in the video, but if you're still watching at this point and you're watching the video at a later date, leave a comment, because I am curious what you all have to say and what your thoughts are on this question. So what do you think about keeping the Fed insulating or instituting checks and balances so it isn't so much of a shadow organization? I want to hear your thoughts. So that's a cool question. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Like I said, yeah, appreciate you being here. Stay classy as always, and I think that's going to be it for now. So take care.